Speaking of going live, we are live right here. We are joined tonight for a very special, kind of a sad episode. One of my favorites got voted out here. We are with a special guest tonight. Erin, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Dustin. Thanks for asking.
Erin, you're always our special guest, though. You're kind of like the host for this podcast anyway. So
exactly. I'm not a guest. It's my second home.
Family by now. Family, as
right.
we like to say.
Thank you. It means a lot.
And speaking of family, we are the community of live reality games. We cover everything from College Survivor to Backyard Survivor to anything kind of reality TV show related here in a scenario that anybody at home can audition for, can play, and get your feet wet in this wonderful community of fantastic games and great friends and awesome people. One of those awesome people are joining us here tonight. Beck, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing pretty decent this Monday evening. Just got the opportunity to talk with some people that are watching Survivor Northwestern, so that's exciting.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of people that are watching, Carson's here in the background. Hey, Carson. I mean, he's not like hiding behind me. At least I don't think he is, but he's here in the comments.
Would not put it past him.
And then Erin has a present under the tree.
Oh my God.
I had no idea. I did not. There were Christmas presents under the tree when I got home from work today, so I didn't snoop. But I guess one's for you, Erin. So
how excited! I can't wait to get it. Thank you, Kirk.
Beck, for the people watching the current season of Survivor Northwestern, they probably don't recognize your face. Not on the cast. However,
no,
you play.
Wait, are you not Ashley?
Just without the glasses, right? Like,
right.
Whoa.
Yeah, same person.
So Ashley could not join us from this episode for anybody watching. She was a huge favorite of ours, and I just want to send a toast to her. I picked up special beverages tonight just for Ashley. So Ashley, if you are watching, I am still drinking your Corona Light, okay? Erin and I talked a little bit. Erin, I don't remember a single confessional that Ashley wasn't drinking Corona Light.
Right, which I think is hilarious considering her tagline for like this episode was "I'm not drunk enough for this" or "I wasn't drunk enough for that," which is a great juxtaposition. But yeah, that was her. Everybody's got to have a specialty beverage, and I love that for her.
I am akin to all the fellow drinkers of College Survivors, any game that has a little bit of a party person. Maggie, my personal favorite of Survivor Michigan, which I hope I see her pretty soon. But besides that, Beck, how did you get started as the editor for Survivor Northwestern? And what's kind of your backstory? Because you're here tonight. You're our special guest, so all you.
Yes, absolutely. So I had actually applied for season 1. My mom had sent me. She came up in the pre-show too. She'd sent me the link for applying to the show, or like the Daily Northwestern, one of the publications on campus had wrote about it. And so I ended up applying. I ended up not. Chase actually ghosted me at our meeting, at our appointment time. So then me, being myself, I was like, well, I'm not doing it anymore. I like screw that, because I felt that he hadn't put in a lot of effort to kind of reschedule our meeting. But anyways, then me being also a forgiving soul, I then decided right before the application was due, I resubmitted and then heard nothing back. So that was kind of a bummer, but I basically got it kind of adjusted at the club, became a part of it after the first season. And kind of in that time, Chase was supposed to be working on the episodes, but he was looking for help at that moment. So I ended up editing the episodes because I've been a big Survivor, Big Brother fan since I was younger, and had done a little bit of video editing and just thought it would be fun to really sink my teeth into telling the story, and having that be how I spend some of my time.
Well, we appreciate it. Cheers to you.
Cheers. We appreciate the brand loyalty too. It's very important for these reality shows.
Absolutely. So, kind of take us back, like recap this whole season for us. Did you watch as this season went on, or are you just like picking up the pieces when Chase is like, here's a lot of footage?
Yeah, so I'm picking up the pieces. I was not a part of season 1 production at all. That was kind of, I didn't hear back for the apps, and I kind of just moved on, was doing other things, in my life. Coronavirus happened, got busy. Um, but so my perspective from the season was I actually started on this episode that's coming up the next week. That was the first episode that I worked on. And kind of I ended up doing most of the rest of the season. So I do edit the rest of the season, but then I went back and started working on some other episodes leading up to that, like the episode, what was episode 5 at the time. So I kind of worked there. Carson did he did the Amos week, and I just kind of ended up piecemealing it. It was really kind of probably not the best way of going about figuring out what was going on, because there were some details I just really didn't know about until later. And so that it's kind of recontextualizing everything. And I think a big thing that happens in these games is so many little bits of information, from one random conversation can be super important later, and you didn't really realize it till that. And there's only so much you can go back and re-edit and try to change the sculpture that is the season. But did you want me to take you through more of it, or?
I guess what's been your biggest surprise having caught up? I guess starting on episode 8-ish, and then seeing how the game has developed from there. Was there anything that you didn't realize happened earlier in the game?
Yes, there was definitely a lot of little things, and I mean, because of where I started, I didn't know Ashley. I didn't know.
We didn't know Ashley either until like episode 6, so it's okay.
Yeah. But, she came up coming for Allison. That's how she starts in the show, and that's how she ends too. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know Allison either. So I think there were just a lot of I knew, of course, that the 8 had dominated the game, but I really didn't get how we necessarily got to this point where you see going into next week, we've got big sides. These sides have kind of been ingrained for a little bit, and I didn't really know how that was formed exactly. I could only just pick up on some of the dynamics within the 8, and it was clear that there were certain, breaks said to happen. But yeah.
So yeah, let's kick off the episode, I guess. So it was a weird start, I guess we could say. We see pretty much a team of 5 try to grill the answer out of someone. Gus is kind of like the odd one out. He's like, I didn't do it. We saw after a huge vote last week that Allison was taken out. Gus finally confesses to his demise. I'm just saying demise just because I feel like, Gus, you could have kept it a secret. Erin, do you think he would have fessed up at that time?
I don't think that he handled it well at all. I don't think he should have tried to keep it a secret, because it would have come out eventually. They would have talked without him. There would have been enough one-on-one conversations where they would have known that Gus was the one that flipped. And you can't, when you have a group of people that are voting together, they know who they're voting with, and they know the ones that are going to maybe be a little bit rockier. And I don't think that there's a point in lying about it when it's going to come out within the next few conversations anyway. So I think that him lying about it to begin with was bad, but then fessing up at the end of the conversation was I guess fine. But then it's you just, you already backtracked what you just said. It's a very awkward situation to be in. I was in a similar situation on my season when I sat everyone on my tribe down and said, so who voted for me? And they all said they didn't, but one of them clearly did. So it's a very interesting, I just think everybody actually knows or will figure it out within the next couple conversations. So why lie?
Mm-hmm. I think just like stick to it. Like maybe he could have like skated under and somebody else could have taken the fall, and
he would
then
have
maybe
had
would have.
to, in one-on-one conversations afterwards, had a fall guy, you know, like chosen somebody to pin the vote on.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
I can't say I do actually know about that. He did have an intended fall guy, but would you want
Okay.
to, any guesses? Any guesses on who Gus was intending to pin that vote on?
Greta?
Maybe Paya?
No.
No? All right, editor.
Okay. Matt was gonna be the one that he'd accused because Matt was having those kind of like crosstalk a little bit with Kylie and Sammy and whatnot. Yeah, and Ashley. So it was gonna be him, but I have to agree with you, Erin, that from watching it, it never really seemed like any. It's just, and maybe Dustyn, maybe if he'd just gone committed even more so, then maybe it works. It's always kind of this double-edged sword in these games of like, do you go for it? Because if you do, you need to go all the way. But if you fall short, then you kind of get the worst of both worlds. And I think that is where Gus ended up, where he kind of didn't really have the option. You know, he's talking all this that he could have flipped to the other side, and I guess maybe they would have accepted him. But when Carson came back, you know, no more Gus.
It sounded like pretty much Charlotte knew that it was Gus the entire time anyway, so.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why lie? People know who the potential flippers are. You know who you're most nervous about going into a vote. So.
But speaking of Greta, who I thought could have been a possible fall person, Greta really steps up this episode. I think we said it last episode, and really Allison was the one who was like, we need more Greta, and we got more Greta. Erin, are you surprised as much as I was of Greta's like great plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially coming from someone who doesn't know Survivor, you know, but she came up with this great plan of, you know, yeah, I think that what she came up with was super smart. It makes sense. It makes more sense. Like, you can see how a conversation between her and Allison would have gone with them both being such smart players and just bouncing ideas off of each other. And I think, yeah, not knowing Survivor kind of, she plays it to her advantage. Whereas instead of like following the people that do know Survivor, she's like, all of these ideas are fresh in her head. She doesn't, you know, she doesn't know how things would play out. So she's just kind of, I feel like it makes you a little more reckless as a player, but sometimes that can be positive in the sense that, you know, you don't know what kind of consequences this decision will have, but that just means you're more willing to make a big move.
I forgot to reorder my notes. Like those were the big bullet points that I was like, oh yeah, I remember this from the episode, this, and this. And then I realized, oh, this didn't happen until a lot later.
Just a little later on.
Just a little. I was like, oh, but I tried to list everything that I remembered, like spot on, that I really want to, like, anyway. Matt had a little bit of clarifying information that they didn't want Gus back on their side at all. Like, as Matt says, he was dead to us, and they all knew it was him already. Why'd you put him through that? Why, Matt, did you have to like put him through the ringer?
I feel like you wanna sit down and like, you want to give people the opportunity to own up to what they've done. You know,
he wrote Sammy. You know, you couldn't see it, and I had to add it in text, but you did write it.
Oh my god, that is like the funniest way of verifying votes ever. Is you just hold up a piece of paper with that person's name on it, because clearly, yeah, any of them could have been lying with that. It is very funny.
Matt thought Gus would admit to it and defend the decision. And he did. He backed it up, saying that he was kind of left out of the votes and everything, trying to establish himself as a player. And even those little falsehoods that maybe were told about him, that he was such a puppet and whatnot, maybe taken a little bit to the extreme. But I could see where he's coming at. But then he does a really big move. he tells Greta about the alliance. Now, from the edit, I don't think Greta knew about it before Gus told them. Beck, do you know anything about any prior conversation of the 8 to Greta?
Yeah, no, she did not know at that point. Yeah, so definitely a pretty big thing for him to spill. But a little bit of a different reaction than we got from the folks last week.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like, Greta is super competitive, but she took it like very calmly. She was like, well, all right, I kind of knew there was a big alliance, but Erin, I think he would have flipped.
Oh, I would have for sure. Yeah. Oh, I definitely would have. But I think that it was also because it's such an interesting point in the game where you do give her this information, but it's after such a line in the sand kind of vote. And so obviously they would, they're still trying to get more people on their side or whatever, still trying to build these bonds. But at this point, she has been working with these people for the entire game. Like we were at final. It would be final 9 at this point because we hadn't had the returnee challenge yet. So you've been working with these people all the way up through this game. So like learning one thing that you don't, doesn't really factor in anymore because 3 people from that alliance just got voted out back to back to back.
That's true, but finding out about something that happened like day 0, like day -14 before you even start the game.
Yeah. I wasn't surprised at her reaction.
Aspect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Erin's right on. Yes,
Thank
Matt.
You,
Matt sent a really long message to you that I haven't read yet, but I'm sure like whatever he said, like Erin is right. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes, and as I saw it, Greta seemed to really be of the mind that it didn't change where she was at in the game. Ultimately, like it's information you can learn, but like she's in the same spot, and she's more so upset at Allison for not having told her and feeling that he could have been included in that alliance. But I think Greta is very much the type of person to use that as fuel and to take that as the chip on her shoulder and be like, well, hey, I had to deal with this adversity and screw y'all, but I'm gonna keep going. So, and I think that's really how she tried to take it.
And I think it helps that Allison is out of the game now, so she can't like go back and say like, why didn't you tell me? Now she's thinking, well, at least you're out and I'm still in, so I can make the most out of this. So
exactly, keep on playing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just need to forget about the past and just move on.
And then we have a nice little confessional with Ashley. Ashley, I think, is the star of this episode. Kind of like the last few of them. At least she's been a big personality before when we actually meet Ashley, per se, like we were talking about earlier. But she kind of apologizes. She says that people are humans too. So she's done some reflecting. Erin, do you think that's really she's trying to clear her conscience of everything she said and kind of realizing what kind of game that she wanted to play?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, so much of what she said, really spoke to me in this episode, saying like, you can't just say that this is a game so anything goes. Like you do, like the conversation between her and Carson later in this episode, I think really speaks to the 2 kinds of players that there are in a reality game. There's the people that are like, this is a game. It's completely removed from reality. It's, I can do whatever I want with no real like morality consequences here. Whereas the other sector of people understands it in the way that this is a game, but it's also grounded in reality. And so why should I change myself, how I act, how I am, just because I'm playing this game? And I think that there's no right answer there. Like both sides are valid and both sides have a background. I think it just completely depends on how you feel, how you are able to deal with yourself throughout and after the game. So I think for her, she did actually, she got caught up in it. She forgot that it was a game grounded in reality. She said some things she didn't necessarily want to say or mean to say. She said some things that were bad. I'm sure she wanted and meant to say those. I'm not going to excuse the things that she said. But she realized, like, I got caught up in it. I need to ground myself back to my morals, my truth. And I think that she did that. And I think that that was fantastic to watch, and completely agree. One of the reasons she was the star of this episode.
And really, we have it all to thank for Beck. Like, Beck, you edited that so well. Like, Ashley was a unknown person until we really connected with her. And you used the best footage of her, or like, however you did it. Like, you did a very good job of like building that storyline for us, for someone that really was like almost a purple edit for this entire, half of the game at least. Beck, how did you kind of establish that mentality of Ashley for us?
Yeah, so I think with editing a show, a college like reality game, one of the dimensions that people don't think about as much is just that people are submitting different amounts of footage. People are submitting totally different things, and with a lot of players, of course not all, right? You have to make cuts at a certain point, but like Ashley, there were plenty of weeks, and I know weeks I didn't work on too, that I don't really know exactly what she was doing, but from what it seems to me, she wasn't really submitting a lot in some of those earlier weeks, and I know that too. And she does definitely come on late in her game and in her performance on the show, and I think that's because she starts submitting more stuff. I guess all this is to say, I think Ashley was always a great character. She was always had biting confessionals, had funny things to say nonstop. Thank you for the compliment about editing it. I feel Ashley had so many more great lines that could have made it, but just didn't, because you don't want the whole episode to be Ashley just making quips.
Well, I do.
We we would want that, but
we have more sponsors than Corona Light, so we have to get on some other kind of tangent, right?
Yeah, other whatever else, fill in the blank drink. Ashley can be our sponsor for it. But no, I think that it was just Ashley came across in the Hot Pursuit challenge when she was upset about the whole Allison situation, and to me as an editor, that ended up making a ton of sense, because her big move in taking out Allison and then she leaves the following week, it's like that is her story. So it's kind of a great entry point to her character, setting her up against the person that eventually becomes her, this one-sided rivalry, but like becomes her big nemesis in the game. And I think from there it was just, Ashley's great at making these cutting confessionals. And yeah, I think everything that you said, Erin, about there being these different types of players in these games. And I think you can see that a lot with Ashley and Gus, particularly, and the way that they take the news about the 8 so seriously. And I think a big part of that is because they didn't even realize that was an option. They didn't even realize that, like, people met up before this game even began. Like, people were taking it that seriously. And I think, people that are, somewhat more in the community or have watched these games, understood it, they get that that's a potential dimension where Jake seems upset, but he's not really surprised by it as a game mechanic that could exist, where I think Gus and Ashley, a big part of that, and a big part of what ends up being their connection and their alliance that unfortunately comes to end in this week, but is because of being on the outs and just that really connecting you.
Mm-hmm. And Matt said something clarifying earlier too. They only met the night before. Yes, Matt, we had the conversation with Allison. Allison won us over from any doubt from that I had. Erin was always on that side, but Allison laid it out. Clearly, the game started right when that cast list was started. So, clear debate. And honestly, Allison pinpointed it, and Matt, absolutely. Like, game starts. And game starts too. There is a new Final 3 in town, and that Final 3 is Ashley, Gus, and Jake. The underdogs all the way. Erin, I had hopes. I was like, this 3, come on.
Absolutely same. As soon as they met up, as soon as they were starting their Final 3, I was like, yes, this is the Final 3 I want to see of this season. Oh my God. Yeah, I wish they could have pulled it off, but like we're gonna get to all the craziness that actually happened this week later. But I think that they could have been set up so well if it wasn't for, number one person coming back in and not choosing their side. And number two, the shenanigans with the advantage and everything. But oh my God, I loved their story of like, and it was, they spoke so truly about like, they were like, we're viewed as lesser in this game just because they didn't give us a chance to be on top. And that's really what it was. Like these 8 people decided before the game, we're going to run it. And so nobody else really got a chance to. And so now they're writing this narrative that only these 8 people are deserving. And anybody else is just a vote, is just tagging along. And so seeing 3 people that were viewed as that in the final 3, seeing them band together, that would have been an incredible story for this season.
And just the 3 of them individually had such different stories to tell, too. They all went through different things that they could say at the end. And I was seeing, like, the final tribal speeches, too. I was like, okay, this person, this. And I thought it was really, like, empowering to see. It's not what we got, but what we got was a very long chess match between the Edge of Extinction people. Erin, I know we do some challenges on the show. I'm opting not to play chess tonight. How's that?
I'm fine with that.
I have very little idea. I know all the moves per se. I have no strategy behind it. Do you play chess, Erin?
No, but I watched Queen's Gambit. That counts.
Same.
So we'll do a little challenge or a little fun, I don't know, game during the next challenge we get to. But Edge of Extinction challenge kind of makes sense. I wish there was more, I don't know, maybe hints to set them up earlier. I know, of course, everything went on with the pandemic. You were sent home, new twist. But I wish there was more, like, maybe leading details for the people that got voted out, that the game was going to be chess, so they had more time to study the game, per se. Just from someone that's not very good at chess, or, I don't know, well-versed. I haven't played chess very often, but I could see why Chase chose it. It's a very strategic game. So, yeah, I don't know how... Beck, do you know how the pairings went? Because Owen and Carson, and then Amos and Allison, and then the winners from that. Was it just a random draw?
Yeah, so I can add some. There's a lot more that was going on in that challenge.
All right.
So they played a double elimination bracket, actually. So there was a lot more chess games that went on. The challenges, I'll say, are typically one of the last things I edit, and that chess challenge in particular, I was not super excited about editing, and I kind of just wanted to make it a bit simpler because, as I read it too, it's like, even in the call when they find out about it, it's like Carson's the only one who knows how to play chess. It's pretty obvious that he goes there. So there were other games, and if I remember that, the Allison and Amos match that I show is actually after they've like both lost to Carson already. That's the thing. Carson just wins at like pretty much every match he's in. So it's like we get to the same point, you know. Oh, and also the final match between Carson and Amos was a best of 5 chess game.
Oh, wow.
Where because Carson was the winner of the like double elimination bracket, I think he was a game up on it, and it's just I was like, you don't need to watch this much chess. It's already
that's amazing. I really appreciate the editing on that. You simplified that challenge super well. From my standpoint, that's really what the challenge was, like 3 games, and that was it. So props to that.
Well, thanks. It got to the same point. Got to Carson celebrating and getting back in. So sometimes I think on these challenges, when they're not as exciting, it just can get through them a little bit.
Yeah. Erin, your buddy gets back into the game. You and Carson.
Yep. Very excited. Obviously, I did. That was like my one late game thing that I knew. I knew Carson was coming back. I was very excited to watch it. yeah, I'm a huge Carson fan, so I was very happy to see him back. Was very disappointed in the decision that he made once he came back. I wish he would have sided with the underdogs. But I do understand, I guess, kind of. I understand why he did what he did. But it also, I felt, kind of went against everything that he had done up to that point, because I don't know, he's the chaos incarnate of the season. So why would he not want to go help out the people and then potentially like be a swing vote next week? I don't know. It just felt wrong to me. Maybe I'm trying to make it not make sense just because I didn't like the decision, but who's to say?
I know Carson's a little bit in the comments and whatnot, and I'm sure the next time that we get to interview Carson, he can go a little bit more in depth with this, whenever that time may be, of course. But yeah, I was surprised too, especially Carson coming in and being notable as like the snake. Wouldn't he work with supposedly like the underdogs to try to like garner up some more like goodwill towards the cast per se? But he did go back with the group that betrayed him the least, I guess. So I guess that's the odds are in his favor in that aspect. Beck, do you have any like confessionals about Carson going back and forth, or maybe there was some edge knowledge that was leaked and he really wanted to go back to that side?
Yeah, so Carson was always going to go to the side he ended up going to the point where, like, before he'd even gotten back in, he has like a confessional from the edge saying that that's what he was going to do. Now, I think Carson's big takeaway from being on the edge and having Amos and Allison follow him was that he was making deals with too many people. So when coming back into the game, he really did adopt that philosophy of, I want people to immediately know where I am at. I want my cards to be a little bit more on the table so I can fall under the radar, hopefully, a little bit. And I think that was kind of big. That guided his game upon getting back in. But really, I do think it was because Matt and Taya didn't vote for him. I mean, you also got to think in the Illegal 8 dynamics, he was never really that close with Coyote and Sammy. So when they're the 8 members with, our favorite non-8 final 3 of, Ashley, Gus, and Jake, he didn't really have strong connections. Of course, he ended up, Ashley was upset at him. And Gus, he was never really close with. Jake, he never really had an alliance with. So I think for him, it was pretty simple.
Yeah, we had seen him build a really good relationship with Paya, especially, and Charlotte. So I could see him going back with those two and then finding out more information about Greta's gameplay from Allison last week. So that made more sense, I guess.
Yeah. Still don't like it, but it does make sense. He was playing for himself and not for the fans, and I can't fault him for that, but I will be mad at him.
And that side does have the Sapphire Idol, so
the Sapphire Idol, you mean?
They do.
I was shocked. I personally was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Erin, can you tell us what went down about the Sapphire Idol?
Yes. So first of all, I did think it was misspelled, which was very funny. It was there are 2 P's in Sapphire. Yeah.
Which we spelled. Oh my gosh, that's why.
Yes, that's true.
I think that was Matt's word he gave to us, right?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it was. It was because you misspelled it, I think, is why he gave it to us too. Or because Carson misspelled it. Whoever did that. But yeah.
It was me, my spelling. I'll take.
You know what?
You can use the
excuse. You can use the excuse that because it was a fake advantage, it's misspelled. So like they should have known it was fake because it was spelled wrong.
They should have watched the edit first, right? They should have watched the episodes. That's
right. Okay. But yeah, so
that says yes, it was. That's the reason why he gave it to us. Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, and Carson misspelled it too.
Classic Carson. Yeah, but apparently the Sapphire Idol has been fake the entire time, which is really interesting. I thought that the reveal of it to Carson that it was fake once he got voted out was very funny. Definitely key information to know for like who you're giving it to, and it does kind of throw a little humor in there of who they're giving it to, because they're first you're thinking like, oh, this person must really like me, they're giving me an advantage, but now it's like, oh, this asshole gave me a fake advantage. They clearly want me to tank my game, which is very funny that Carson gave it to Charlotte, who he ended up going back to work with. And then they tried to, the strategizing around it was so interesting. And honestly made sense.
I think during our Carson interview, I was like, oh, were you surprised that Owen gave you the idol?
Exactly.
And I think he made up some excuse, too, to try to cover it. He's like, oh, yeah, I had a lot of power in the game, so that's why I got it or something.
He did. Yeah, that was very funny. But, oh my God. Yeah, the strategy behind voting in a circle in your alliance is really interesting. And it's not something that would ever happen outside of this advantage, because that's stupid. but it is really interesting. As long as you keep it lock and key, it could work. Because if the other side is piling all their votes on one person, they're not splitting, then that's really interesting. And then the side that won out, Greta's plan to leak the advantage to the other side, pretending that it's real. Incredible. And they just assumed, and that's one of those, it was one of those subtle plans where something else has to happen that you have no control of. Like, she leaked the plan to them, but she didn't tell them to vote in a circle, That's something that they determined on their own, because Greta was like, oh, we figured out this strategy, so they're going to also think of this strategy. So yeah, it was absolutely crazy. The only thing I was hoping for was that the underdog side was going to be like, why would they leak it to us? That clearly can't be real. Why are they're getting us all to vote for ourselves. There has to be something going on here. But unfortunately, I think they were just too caught up in the strategy of the Sapphire Idol. And you also, when you're in the game, you're never like, oh, that's probably a fake advantage. You might think that about a regular idol. If somebody is bluffing an idol, you might be like, oh, they probably don't really have an idol. But if it's this crazy advantage that you've never heard of, if somebody told you about the Sapphire Idol, you'd be like, that is so insane. There's no way that they made that up. So very.
And I think I'm assuming Owen must be a Big Brother fan, because I think that term Sapphire comes from the Big Brother terminology. Just in many of these college survivor games, we do see a handful of fake advantages, fake idols come out, these really confound powers, and Survivor Boston also had it on their latest season of season 4, that someone was able to do that as well. Really interesting, because a lot of the castmates say it was so well spun, so well developed, they didn't know anything about it. And I think that's what Owen did. I think Owen put a good background on this idol that kind of propelled it to get more validation, if you will. Even though it sounded like Chase was a little bit confused about how it worked, and he's like, oh, thank goodness that's not in the game anymore.
Yes, so actually that Owen does cite that is from a season of Reddit Survivor, one of the earlier ones that the Sapphire Idol originates from. So that's where he pulled the rules. But yes, there was a lot of confusion about the rules. Of course, a lot of needing to talk it through and kind of figure it all out. That was actually the reason that I decided to withhold the information about it being real for so many weeks, was because I was like, how do I show them talking through all these things that end up not mattering at all when you know it's fake, because the whole Greta plan is coming together, as you said, Erin, for that side to save themselves, and then it ends up being used on the other side, and it was just, I thought it didn't really make you'd be too cued in on what would eventually have to happen if I showed all that and you thought it was fake. But no, it is an interesting idea that both sides came to, and I think it was one thing when I was looking at all the footage. Of course, I knew it ended up there. I knew that was the destination, but I really had to find what was the moment that felt like the big turning point to this all. And it did feel like the Gus confessional is quite literally when Gus realizes, what if we vote for ourselves? And,
like literally that confessional, you see the light bulb go off in his head too. He's talking. He's like, what if we do this? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Some clarifying information, little behind the stage here. It sounds like, according to Matt and Carson, that Paya was one of the first people to find out. Carson actually told Paya and Matt first about the fakeness. And Carson's kind of remembering it too, but for editing purposes, I like how it was portrayed.
I completely agree. And knowing that, like that Carson did tell them right away, that makes, I guess, more sense, because I thought that this would have been the perfect opportunity to there's one thing that Carson loves, and that is having complete and total control. And I feel like with everybody knowing that this advantage is fake, like he kind of lost that. But if he had kept them thinking it was real, kept that side voting in a circle, maybe gotten the other side to do that too, he could have completely decided who went home that round. But he instead chose to switch his game up and be a loyal ally instead, which I guess, yeah, you got to change your game when you come off of edge. That makes sense. But
so true, Erin. I'm confused how Matt was in that, though. I know that Carson built that relationship with Paya from the start. Like, I could see, like, Paya and Charlotte, just because Charlotte has the possession of the Sapphire Idol. So I'm surprised that Matt was in on that initial conversation to open up about the realness / fakeness of this idol.
I feel like Matt's face when Carson got voted out might have locked that in for him.
True,
like,
absolutely.
Anybody that is that shocked and that
those were the two people that didn't vote for him.
Right, exactly.
Hold on, let me pull this up again. So true, Erin. I need a banner on the bottom here this week. Before we get into the challenge, I just have to say, I have notes on here that Ashley looks amazing this episode. I don't know what it is. I don't know if she knew she was going home. This was her last episode, but her hair's done. She has makeup on. Like, I don't know, Erin. She looks pretty good this week, right? Not that she didn't look good last week or anything, but this week.
Yeah, she went for it. I think, yeah, as it's kind of like it's just her opening up throughout the season, like Beck was saying. She's probably just caring more and more. I feel like we're just genuinely seeing that growth of her caring more and more about the game. You know, she goes from not really filming many confessionals to filming in like fresh out of the shower or like, you know, anything like that to like, yeah, actually maybe dolling herself up a little bit for confessionals. Like, or maybe she just had something to go to. Like,
she knew. She's like, this is my show now. I'm running it now. It's like, this is, people are watching me now. So.
Yeah, I for one was watching for Ashley only, and am now done with the show.
Well, you got Carson back at least, right?
That's true.
Actually, I really like the cast in general. So, not to like bum anybody out on the cast, like we're all watching for all of you, and we want to have all of you win in some way or another, and to see you win. I think I'm rooting more for Greta now after this episode. So after I lost my Ashley, I was like, oh. Ashley. Anyway, challenge time. Touchy Subjects is the game, and Erin and I like to compete a little bit, so we're just gonna play a little like personality game kind of thing. I have a few questions. They're not 100% based on touchy subjects, but like for instance, like out of the cast here, Ashley included, because we're on this current episode, who would you most want to hang out with? Beck, if you have a marker, I know you probably are in person with these people, so you could be like, hey, Matt, let's go get some dinner or something. But,
okay.
I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not going to say...
Okay, you go grab some paper.
I'm not
Spelling
gonna say
doesn't count,
Carson.
Aaron. Okay, spelling doesn't count. Okay.
Spelling
Oh.
doesn't count. I'm gonna, for this question in particular, I'm not gonna say Carson because that feels like cheating.
Because you've already got to hang out with Carson.
Yes, I have.
While Beck is getting some paper, I should have told him about this, but we were a little late on the podcast. So, the game in general, Touchy Subject's one of my favorite games. It's a huge show your alliances, show who you're stable for. The only person that I think that played this game correctly was Sammy. Sammy was, her answers were the best. She blamed herself. She gave herself the worst answers, I felt.
Yep, agreed.
I think everybody else showed too many sides, but
yeah, I agree.
We have some pressure now. Matt is judging us based on our answers, so
I'm gonna write Matt for every question.
All right, back to the challenge that doesn't really matter because Erin schooled me on all these challenges so far. So I'm playing for courtesy points, and then Beck is here to back me up. So yes. All right. So first question: who would you most like to hang out with? Go to a party with, I guess, or just I don't know. Hang out with was the first original question. So ready?
Yes.
Okay. Matt's answer. Erin. Aww. Our answers. Ashley.
I have Gus.
Allison. Allison's no longer in the game, Beck, but we will accept your answer, okay?
It is a good answer. It's still a good answer. We got to hang out with Allison last week, and it was very fun.
Matt says Carson. So
I think next comment too.
Ashley, if I really want to get drunk, absolutely. I do have the Corona Light here to prove it, Matt. Okay.
The Baldies.
Let's see. Next question. Who should be on Survivor? I know a lot of people want to be on Survivor here, folks. There's a lot of good answers here, folks. So that's what live reality games are for. You can't play Survivor on CBS. Play it here on YouTube.
That's
ready?
True. Yes.
3, 2, 1. We all have different answers too, and I think they're all. I was almost wrote down Kylie for sure. Back
I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of answers to these questions. There's a lot of correct answers.
And honestly, okay, we have seen many players in live reality games go on to other things. So time will only tell if something else happens.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. But we're on Big Brother. We got the Circle.
Mm-hmm.
So
yep, that's
true. Next, folks. What's next?
I'm just waiting for CBS's College Survivor season. That's what I'm waiting for.
Anyway, there's a Netflix show. Anyway, let's see. Who's the best actor? Who's the best at lying?
Ooh.
Or acting, I guess. All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Oh.
Yep.
We agree here. Now, Beck, I think you have it wrong. Greta lies like I lie. I laugh every time I lie. So
Greta just doesn't lie.
That's true.
What is Paya? What lie? What are you thinking of Major Paya acting?
Her and Sammy had that conversation how they were gonna supposedly play something, and Paya really didn't know what was going on, but she played it so nonchalant.
She's perfectly casual enough that it's you just assume that what she's saying is true because she's just so chill about it.
Mm-hmm.
She just has the perfect disposition to be a good liar, which is terrifying.
And theater major too, so it adds up.
Right.
Another one of those theater majors.
And folks, stay tuned for the comment section after this. I'll list all these questions so you can kind of play along and see what your opinions are. Because of course, Matt and Carson are in the comments with their comments too. So I don't want to leave you out, folks. You're playing the game too. Who has the best confessionals? Beck, you know more than we do. So,
Yeah, that's true.
all right, ready?
Yes.
Here we go.
Yep, easy. Easy.
Yeah, just
It
Non-stop
was super
bangers,
comedic,
you know?
like,
Yeah.
and personable and high and low, like angry, sad, happy, like
They're just
we got all
real.
the 7
They're
doors.
so real.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Let's see here. Just 2 more questions. Who, because of this game specifically, who is the lowest GPA? Because they put too much time into this game.
Okay, I like that. I like that modifier
Yep.
because they put too much time.
That was actually Kirk. I guess there was a season of something else that he covered, and somebody bombed their GPA just to play this game. So that's dedication.
I skipped a lot of classes during Survivor. I get it. It's just hard.
Ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1. And the correct answer is Matt.
I got it. You can just tell that Matt only is thinking about Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like Matt is definitely in class making, like, voting charts and like, things like
He's
that.
writing he's writing out his EJIC chart.
Exactly.
Like Matt said, it killed his GPA. So, all right, our final question, and maybe a hint of a future challenge here. Who could you take in an eating challenge?
So the question is, who do I think is worst? Who would be worst in an eating challenge?
Mm-hmm. Who would be the worst at an eating challenge? Who could you beat in an eating challenge?
Okay.
Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Interesting. All right. So we got Kylie.
It's funny because Kylie and Peo were the other 2 people I thought of.
I almost wrote Sammy, to be honest. So
Hey, I wrote Sammy, then I crossed it out because I remembered she's the one eating chicken before, she's eating a lot in confessional, so she's probably pretty good at doing it under high stress situations.
See, but you should never eat before a real challenge because you don't know if it's going to be an eating challenge. So
True. Kylie learned to not eat before challenges. Not really good for her stomach.
Well, I guess Kylie or Carson, whoever we see next on this, you might be in store for an eating challenge now. So because Erin and I called you out. So anyway, so after our friendly little bout of touchy subjects, Charlotte wins. Congrats to her. I think she's got a good feel of like the game so far. Any surprises at all?
I think it was very funny that Carson did get so many votes for like who thinks they're running the game, or like who's because he did. He's like, I just got back here 10 minutes ago. Like, how am I running the game already? I thought that was very funny. I don't know that any of the answers were necessarily surprising.
A lot of votes for Kylie to win.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a huge target, and the fact that she still has an idol that everybody knows about, like, you're gonna have to get it out of there somehow.
Right.
I think Ashley was hilarious. Again, I'm sorry, this is the Ashley episode. Like, she's like, I voted myself the prettiest because, of course, like, I have a big ego.
Honestly, when that question came up, though, I like scanned the cast. I was like, everybody here's gorgeous. Like, anybody could win this. This is it's a hot cast. I can't lie. It's a hot cast.
And hey, Matt, in the comments, we got Matt puffing up Carson.
Let's see here. So after that, then really Carson actually does come clean about the idol that we talked about. That's technically after that. Carson pitches to Ashley to join him. I I don't think Carson was like legitimate, like, please join this, because like we saw how the votes went out. Even if Ashley sided with Carson, she still would have been like betrayed. I think it was a waste of Carson, and to even like extend that fake olive branch. Erin, do you think he was like legitimately asking Erin to join him?
I think asking Ashley to join him, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could have been legitimate. Like maybe he was kind of testing the waters with her. He was like, do we still have a relationship? You know, like I think it was very funny that he literally like went into it as like a business proposal. He was like, this is a pitch. Like literally said, this is a pitch, which I thought was very, very funny. But I feel like, yeah, it was kind of testing the waters, and potentially maybe would have switched who the vote split was on had she been on board. You know, maybe the vote would have been decided differently if she would have been on that side. But I feel like, yeah, she made it pretty clear, because much like Greta, like there's like a no bullshit person on each side, right? Like we've got Greta and we've got Ashley, and neither of them are really going to lie to anybody that they're talking to, unless Greta is pulling off her plan and is like, you know,
yeah,
hey, there's this idol thing. That's crazy, right? But
yeah, Carson does say like, yeah, he was legit, like, but Ashley was straight up and said, no, not for me.
Right. So she, yeah, in that conversation probably got herself voted out that week. Not that she probably would have had many more to go after anyway, but I think that was the deciding factor in her going that week. Because even though Carson has only been back 10 minutes, he still has a chokehold on the game. So.
Yes, and I know Carson was talking about and he, I think, mentions it in the next episode, but for him getting rid of Ashley, it was like she was his clear connection on the other side, who he clearly had this relationship with from being day one partners, and so it was kind of a big signifier to his side that he was with them and he was riding with them. So I think sometimes you got to think about that with votes. You know, you lose a connection, but where does that position you with your allies?
Kylie was the only person to kind of think about seeing through their little facade about the vote plan. She's like, well, this would be so convoluted if they're actually trying to do this, but could they be doing it? Maybe not, but still, like, she was almost there to doubt it.
It gave me so much hope. That little thing that she said, it gave me so much hope. I was like, yes, Kylie, ride with that train of thought. Why would they be saying this to you?
But Greta and her chaos, like, Chaos Cass is my favorite, like, Survivor player of all time, kind of. One of them, at least, like, top 3, probably top 5, or however many we want to throw in my top. But I love Chaos in Survivor games. So Greta playing that. Greta, you are now my new favorite for the season. So good luck to you. Good luck to everyone still, but still. But I'm surprised, like, if they thought everybody was doing a 1-1-1 on the other side, like, couldn't you just do like a 3-2? Split up your 5 and do it like a 3-2, so the 3-2 would be the highest vote getters, and then everybody else. I don't know. I'm thinking way too much about the chaos that ensues here from this darn made-up Sapphire Idol.
Yeah.
Yes, I will say with this week that I don't even fully get what their thought process was going into it, because I do know that the Greta, Carson, Charlotte's side, like they did not expect the Kylie Sammy side to vote for one another fully. I think they thought that they were gonna split or something. There was really one of those things, because of all the intricacies of the Sapphire Idol, and also additionally all the things that were on the fire token menu. There was like so many different ways the vote could go down that it kind of just ultimately, they ended up voting for one another. Then the other side split, so it kind of came down. But I really can't say. Maybe if Matt or Carson have some revelation in the comments.
Yeah, Carson's here. Yes, they thought they would split, and they wanted to protect the idol. And Matt says, I agree.
I think, yeah, it gets really complicated because honestly, even at that point, let's say the Sapphire Idol was real and those top 2 vote getters would have been safe, then only the people who all voted for each other would be eligible for the revote, which would be crazy. I don't know.
Mhm.
It does get very complicated. I don't know.
Also, to add to the complication, like Kylie says in the comments,
Right. So even if Kylie would have played the idol on the right person, like let's say they put all 5 of their votes, or even split, like if they put all 5 of their votes on one person, if Kylie would have protected them, still the only votes would be the people on Kylie's side because they all voted for each other. So only they would have been eligible on the revote. So even if Kylie had played her idol correctly, nobody on the other side would have gone home.
But it was so Kylie brings up a good point. There was another idol.
Yes.
Was there another idol, or did Kylie give okay.
Yes. So yes, Kylie did give Jake the idol, and that was because when I asked Kylie, because I really didn't get it either. It was just like his, but I guess that was part of the whole bartering thing with fire tokens, or like because they had to do something with that. It ended up happening. But no, what Kylie's mentioning is there was actually another idol that I ended up not including in the show that was gotten by the other side. They bought it off the fire token menu, and I think they played it on like, I don't even know I don't remember who they played it on. It was just kind of, they were like freaked out at Jake voting for Ashley. Like they didn't really even get what was going on, and so they just used an idol they just purchased, but kind of let them just thought it wasn't as important, and kind of in a the episode was already kind of convoluted, just left it out. But it's on you, Matt. Well,
Aww, good. Don't want that guy going anywhere. What an icon.
Yeah, that was my confusion too. I was like, oh, was there another idol? But I thought it was smart just in case there was some other advantage to steal an idol or to nullify an idol. I don't know, but whatever the possibility was. Or they actually wanted to bluff that Kylie still had her idol. That's why she gave it to him so he could play it. So I thought they were going to bluff that Kylie still had her idol. That was my thought.
I think it's crazy. Like I think they got very lucky that they flipped up a Sammy vote because that other side was splitting. So I think they got very lucky that they exposed, or at least Sammy got very lucky that they exposed the Sammy vote. Ashley got less lucky in that scenario, but I thought that was very interesting.
Like Kylie said, she was having nightmares about the Sapphire Idol. I feel like you folks are playing Survivor 41 before there was a 41. So so many twists.
Yep. Everywhere.
I wonder if I can bring this up real quick. Final thoughts, Erin. I want to bring up a quick little picture that I made, but
okay. Is it another lookalike?
Well, it was just the intro, which will bring us to our next thing. So I have to go to like the story that I made for live reality games. So while I'm bringing this up, you can definitely check out our next podcast over at Live Reality Games. That's kind of where I'm going. We mainly are on Facebook and on YouTube for the podcast. But of course, you can check out all of our social media on Instagram, Twitter. We are also at, let's see here, click for the story. Okay, can I pause this? Okay, cool. I'm just going to bring up my screen right here. So the next topic were these nice cats in sunglasses. Look at that, folks. Look at that. There's a little picture of all the cool cats there with their sunglasses.
Oh, so, I love it. Yep.
Too bad they're not all wearing suits at the same time.
I know.
But I feel like it was like...
That's a bold thing to go out with your alliance all dressed the same, like just showing, hey everyone, here's the line. And I don't know how you're on the other side and they're like, wow, these bitches are confident. They're wearing suits, they're wearing sunglasses. Like, how do you not just panic and change your whole plan at Tribal? Because I feel like that's what I would have done. I was like, none of these people think they're going anywhere. There's something wrong.
I think it was a super bold move, and I was super excited to see it. So I love costume changes. So nice job.
They all looked great. Just showcasing how hot the cast is.
Absolutely. They all look so good in their Men in Black gears.
Yes.
Standing ovation from Carson for editing out a third of the twist and still making it a followable story. Absolutely.
Yes.
Matt is asking a context for the suits, and I guess we'll have to save that for the next time we interview one of the suit wearing people. So great question for next time.
Yeah, let it out, Matt, and then you can go give us the context.
Come on, Matt.
I'm kidding, Matt.
Maybe next week, maybe the week after that. But Erin, thoughts about next week?
I am very nervous for my underdogs. We've only got Gus and Jake left from like the outside of the 8 underdogs because Greta has obviously worked herself into such an amazing position. I think she definitely had a fantastic breakout episode. Definitely she would be up there as a winner pick. I don't see a path to the end for like Kylie and Sammy are probably in trouble next because or Gus, because he's kind of building up a threat level for himself too. I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of hope for a lot of flipping going on in the near future. But I hope to be proven wrong. That would be much more fun.
I'm hoping Greta plays up the fact that she did confide in Gus, and the fact I think she even acted it up for the camera a little bit and surprised that the Sapphire Idol wasn't real. So I'm thinking Greta has a plan, and Greta has a backup plan right now with Gus. And I'm hoping to see that a little bit. I think Kylie and Sammy are just like swimming against that current. They're like, come on, we can keep going. They might need another idol or maybe another win at this point, depending on what kind of advantages. Charlotte says something that she's like, doesn't want to get outbid by the Survivor auction, and of course Survivor auction could and probably going to unleash another realm of twists and advantages or powers, or maybe a can of sardines that we'll find out here soon. So Beck, what is coming up? You're the only one that knows, technically.
What is coming up? Well, let's see. So episode 7 happens, so there are going to be 5 more episodes. Lot still left to happen, but yeah, next week you've kind of got it set. There's the 4 underdogs, the 5 with Carson that just controlled this previous vote, and I guess you're going to see a little bit of, this continued battle and see where it ends up and which I'd say maybe this week a little bit more crosstalk finally starts.
Oh.
But that I'll preview a little bit of that. There's the auction. Let's see where that goes. And yeah, besides that, I think it's a fun rest of the season. I think that the players continue to look hot and play hard. So what else do you really want from players in a game like this?
All right, Beck, for people that are watching and just tuning in now, for the very few of them turning in at the end of the podcast, but when is the next episode? When does it air, and where do we find it?
Yes, so we are on YouTube at Survivor Northwestern, and the next episode, as well as future episodes, will be airing on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time. We're here in around Chicago, so we air Central Time, but that's 8 Eastern. That'd be like 5 West Coast. Yeah.
That was good math right there. Nice job. Yes, here at Live Reality Games, we do air all shows from across the world, literally from Australia to Vancouver, and then all the way over to Michigan, too, where Erin and I are originally from. So shout out to Erin's locale right now. Erin, who are you hanging out with right now?
I'm here at Chloe Barbera's apartment from season 3 of Survivor Michigan. She's my best friend, so we're just hanging out.
All right. And thanks for everyone hanging out tonight. Erin, anything that you want to pick up that I left out of the recap here? So
I don't think so. I think this was a heavy episode, a thick episode, one might say. I think we covered a lot, but it was fantastic. I think definitely one of the best episodes of the season so far. And very excited to see where it goes. Next episode is going to be the first one Beck ever edited. So that'll be interesting to kind of, think about as we watch.
All right, and then we'll see you here next Monday or thereafter. I don't remember the holiday schedule they have in place, but we will see you here Monday. Make sure you tune into Live Reality Games. Follow us for all the updates, and then we'll see you next time. Bye, folks.